Hi there. My name is Carly, and I am the creator of fearlessfemaletravels.com. I have been traveling solo for more than 20 years, and in that time, I've visited more than 70 countries. I've also lived and studied overseas and run a successful travel blog for the past 5 years. Now, I'm here with the new Fearless Female Travels podcast. I want to talk about the beautiful places I've visited and help you plan your own dream trips. I'm a dedicated slow traveler and will often spend an entire week in one small town rather than try to squeeze 5 cities into a week. If you like to travel at a more leisurely pace, then you will love my stories. And if you have less time, then you'll appreciate my suggestions for the very best attractions, activities, restaurants, and accommodation in the destinations I discuss. Other things that are really important to me when I travel include supporting local businesses, getting immersed in the local culture, and challenging myself to step out of my comfort zone. I'm not an influencer, and I'm not a videographer. I'm just a really passionate solo female traveler who wants to talk to you about the best travel experiences around the world. Today, for the 3rd episode of our podcast, we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Instead of talking about a destination, we are going to talk about one of my favorite activities to do no matter where I'm traveling: grocery shopping at the local supermarket. Now, grocery shopping in Italy can feel confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, you'll realize that browsing in an Italian supermarket can be one of the most enjoyable activities on any Italy trip. Whether you're sampling unique food products or understanding different shopping etiquette, buying groceries in Italy is always an adventure. I'm an experienced Italy traveler, an avid home cook, and a very frequent grocery store visitor. So in this podcast, I'm going to talk about some of the unique products you'll find in Italian supermarkets, some of the ways that supermarkets in Italy are different from those in North America, and how to have the easiest, most convenient, most fun shopping trip in any Italian grocery store. For some background, grocery shopping in Italy is something that I have a lot of experience doing. I lived in Turin, Italy for about 2 years, and in that time I had several Italian roommates. I learned how to shop like a local, and I also had the chance to observe how my Italian roommates shopped. Since moving away from Italy, I've been back on many trips. I usually stay for at least a month or longer, so I usually rent an apartment or several apartments so that I can cook some of my own meals using the ingredients and techniques that I learned to love when I was living in Italy. When I'm at home in Canada, I even use a reusable shopping bag adorned with a picture of Turin's iconic Mole Antonelliana. My most recent trip to Italy was in July 2024, and I actually left at the end of August 2024. And during that 2-month span, I rented several different apartments, and I shopped for groceries all the way from Puglia in the south to Piedmont in the north. So today, I've got 10 tips that I hope will help you feel as comfortable and confident as I do when you're venturing into an Italian grocery store on your next Italy trip. My first tip for shopping for food in Italy is to understand the different types of food stores that you can find. As a foreigner, roughly speaking, I would categorize the types of food stores kind of into 4 categories. First, you're looking at small supermarkets. So you're going to find small supermarkets dotted around most neighborhoods within walking distance of where people live. This is where the local people would stop to grab some things on their way home from work. You're going to find chains like Carrefour Express, Conad, or Cry. You'll also find regional chains, and you'll find independent small grocers. But if these little stores don't have what you're looking for, you'll need to go to the second type of food store, which is a large supermarket, also called like a hypermarket, or in Italian, an ipermercato. My Italian's not great, sorry. So these large supermarkets are usually located outside the historic center. They're often by a freeway or a highway, and they have big parking lots that can accommodate people who are coming by car to shop for a lot of things. These stores will have bigger selections and larger quantities, and they're more similar to a supermarket in suburban North America. The third place you might like to shop for food is at a specialty shop. For many Italian people, it would be sacrilegious to buy bread at the supermarket when there is a beautiful bakery just down the street. The same goes for fruits and vegetables, dairy products, and meats, which you can find in supermarkets, but which are also sold in perhaps higher quality, and definitely in a more personable environment in these nice little specialty shops. And the fourth place that Italian people shop for food is at stores that sell prepared food to take away. My Italian friends would never go to McDonald's after work. If they were too tired to cook, they would go to one of these cute little stores selling homemade, freshly cooked food that's made to be taken away and eaten at home. So these shops will have things like fresh pasta, you'll cook it at home, salads, grilled vegetables, meat dishes, all sorts of things that you can buy and have on your dinner table 15 or 20 minutes later. In fact, as I'm recording this, I'm making some fresh pasta on my stove. So I'm going to go take care of that. Then I'm going to come back for the last 9 tips. I just checked on my pasta. It's not ready, so I think I can still do tip number 2 first. So the second thing that I want to tell you about grocery shopping in Italy is that if you're coming from North America, you definitely have to be prepared to find smaller quantities in the supermarkets. So back home in Canada, I buy lots of stuff at Costco. 12 rolls of paper towel takes up a lot of space, but I find that buying in bulk, the discounts are worth sacrificing my extra closet. In Italy, however, people live in much closer quarters and they have less storage space, so you'll find that products in the grocery store are often sold in much smaller quantities. For example, paper towels are often sold in packages of just 3 or 4 small rolls, and you'll find the same for toilet paper. Foods are often smaller too. I'm always on the lookout for a big tub of yogurt, but I often find I'm stuck with single serving containers. And a 4-liter jug of milk? Forget about it. So the main advantage of buying groceries in smaller quantities is that you use things up while they're still fresh, and you're not left with wasted food that you couldn't finish before it expired. The biggest disadvantage, though, is that it requires more trips to the grocery store, especially if you're shopping for a family and need multiples of everything. Speaking of shopping for a large group, my third tip for traveling in Italy and shopping at the grocery stores is that you'll need to bring your own reusable shopping bag. So like most other countries, or maybe many other countries, I should say, Italy has limited and in some places even banned single-use plastics. Grocery stores will not provide plastic bags. Instead, they sell reusable bags, compostable bags, or paper bags. But some stores don't have any extra bags at all. You'll definitely want to bring your own reusable shopping bags when you're shopping in Italian supermarkets. I personally carry my own packable bag in case I need to pop into any supermarkets when I'm out and about. But if I know I'm heading to the grocery store, then I'll bring 1 or 2 large folding reusable bags. Now, one of my top travel tips is actually to look for really cute reusable bags at local supermarkets when you're abroad. I find these make awesome souvenirs because they're really lightweight and they fold down to almost nothing. Then, when you're back home and you're shopping at your boring old regular supermarket in Canada or the United States, you can look down at your Italian grocery bag and reminisce about your time abroad. For tip number 4, I want to talk to you about something that's a little bit controversial in Italy: bottled water. Now, some Italians exclusively drink bottled water at home, and they would never think to drink the tap water in their house. Often, it's not because the water is bad, but it's because their pipes are like 200 or 300 years old. Other Italians live and die by tap water, and they argue that bottled water is wasteful and unnecessary. And there's another subsection of Italians who think bottled water has magical powers and can do everything from help you to lose weight to guarantee your path to heaven. I may have made up the last one, but really, the marketing on bottled water in Italy is crazy. So clearly, there's a huge market for bottled water in Italy, and grocery stores there have a huge selection of both still and sparkling bottled water. There are a few tricks for buying bottled water at the supermarket that you need to think about. First, in most stores, it's frowned upon to open a sealed package of bottles. So if 6 bottles are packaged together in plastic, you shouldn't cut them open. However, if a package is already open, you're welcome to take 1 or 2 or 3 bottles from it. Some stores will also tape a handle onto the top of a sealed package to make it easier for you to carry home. You can kind of use body language and gestures to ask the cashier if they have a little handle for it. You'll also find that the taste of bottled water varies widely. Some of it tastes like it's a fresh alpine stream, and others feel like an earthy, mossy cistern, perhaps you could say. So if you do find a water that tastes good to you, make a note of it so that you can buy it again at the next supermarket. And finally, remember to recycle your empty plastic bottles. You'll probably find recycling bins in the street, and if you can't, just ask any local you pass, they'll know where they are. Speaking of recycling, that takes me to tip number 5. You should be prepared to be shocked by how much fresh produce in Italy is packed in styrofoam or plastic. Italian supermarkets go crazy with packaging. They put bananas on a styrofoam tray or a plastic tray, and then they wrap them in even more plastic. What a waste. It's not just bananas you're going to find encased in these layers of packaging. Tomatoes will come in packages of 3 or 4. They'll be shrink wrapped so you can only see one side of them. And even sturdy produce like peppers, apples, and oranges are often all sealed up. If this bothers you the way it bothers me, then I recommend you buy your fresh fruits and vegetables from a street market or from a greengrocer, where you should be able to pick the pieces you want. And if you can't, the workers will at least show you each piece before putting them in your bag. And this connects to tip number 6. So I remember the very first time I went grocery shopping in Italy, and I brought a basket full of loose fruits and vegetables to the cash register, carefully placing them on the conveyor belt as though each one were as delicate as a piece of Murano glass. Only to have the cashier shout at me, wave her arms, roll her eyes, and basically act like I just defaced the Mona Lisa. I had committed the cardinal sin of Italian grocery shopping. I had not weighed and stickered my own produce. So if you're at a supermarket and your fruits and vegetables aren't packaged with a price on them, there is like a 90% chance you need to weigh them yourself on one of the scales in the produce section. Unlike American and Canadian supermarkets, Italian cashiers typically don't weigh produce at the point of sale. Instead, shoppers weigh their fresh foods, and the scale prints out a price sticker that you affix to the foods. Look for a computerized scale in the produce section. Just scroll through the pictures on the screen to find your items, or look for a code on the price tag on the shelf. Put the items on the scale, hit enter, and wait for the price sticker to come out. Most stores will expect you to put the fruits and vegetables into a plastic bag first, and then use the sticker to seal the bag closed. But if you're like me and you hate using even more plastic, you might be able to get away with putting the sticker right on the food item, especially for something simple like bananas. For Italian grocery shopping tip number 7, I want to talk about some products I recommend you buy at the supermarket when you're in Italy. And this is specifically stuff you would use maybe in your Airbnb kitchen, or even if you're staying in like a hotel or a hostel that has a little mini fridge. So these are some things you might want to buy. So number 1, fresh pasta for sure. My favorites are filled pasta like ravioli or tortellini. And my number 1 favorite is always the one that is stuffed with pumpkin, zucca, and sometimes that even has like almond biscuits, amarena biscuits mixed in. Oh, it is delicious with like just a nice little brown butter sauce. But also anything stuffed with like mushrooms, spinach, cheese, love it. Again, as I said, butter, Italian butter is not as good as French butter, but brown it a little bit on the stovetop and it's the perfect sauce on any of those filled pastas. I also really love this, and this is kind of random, frozen minestrone soup mix. So this can be a super quick and easy veggie-packed meal on a cold night, or if you don't feel like making a salad. You can make this even more flavorful by stirring in a teaspoon of pesto when you're heating it up on the stovetop. For breakfast, I recommend buying jam, soft cheese, and yogurt. And then my absolute favorite Italian supermarket splurge is not something super special, but it's something I've never been able to find back home in Canada. And that is a particular cookie made by the very common company Mulino Bianco. And the cookie is called Macine. I'm going to spell that for you in case my pronunciation is wrong. It's Macine. These are by far my favorite cookies on the planet. They're like an Italian version of shortbread made with real cream, and these are perfect for dipping in your coffee or tea. Please go buy them, try them, leave a comment below, tell me how much you loved them. Tip number 8 is about how Italian supermarkets are great not only for like grocery shopping for your Airbnb, but also for souvenir shopping on your way home. Sure, if I'm in a big city, I will swing by a gourmet grocery store like Italy, but it's also definitely worth checking out the local supermarkets. So most grocery stores in Italy are going to have an excellent selection of shelf-stable products that you can easily bring back home as souvenirs and gifts. I always start in the condiment aisle where I find things like truffle cream, pesto sauce, jarred olives, and all these other little condiments that I can use to enhance the flavor of any dish I'm making back home. Dried pasta is also a good souvenir, but there's no point bringing home the same Barilla pasta you can buy in Canada or the USA. Instead, look for pasta that's made in the typical local shape. For example, in Puglia, it's orecchietti. In Liguria, like Genoa, it's trophy. Look for the local shape, or look for something with fun local ingredients blended right into the pasta dough. Other things I bring home from regular supermarkets in Italy, I bring home chocolate bars, I bring home liqueurs, especially anything made from almond or pistachio, my favorites. And I also bring home saffron. I think saffron is cheaper in Italy because it's used so commonly in risotto Milanese. Before you do bring any food home from Italy, make sure to check with the customs regulations of your home country just to make sure that they won't confiscate the food you buy at the border. Okay, we're almost at the end of the list. I'm on tip number 9 now. And like I was saying, shopping at an Italian supermarket can be a great way to spend money instead of eating in a restaurant, but not just eating in a restaurant, also like drinking in a bar. Supermarkets in Italy have great selection of alcoholic and non-alcoholic cocktails. If you don't want to spend 10 euros on another Aperol Spritz, go to the grocery store and you'll find like a whole shelf full of different pre-mixed spritzes, different aperitifs, different pre-mixed cocktails. They're all ready to be chilled back in the mini fridge in your accommodation and served. You're going to find some that contain alcohol, especially Aperol Spritz. You can get a 3-pack for about 7 euros. And then companies like San Pellegrino also make non-alcoholic or analcolico cocktails that don't contain alcohol. You can just drink them as is, or you can mix in your own. You'll also find Italian supermarkets have great wine selections, usually with a focus on very local wines and beers and spirits. The legal drinking age in Italy is 18, so as long as you've graduated from high school, you should be able to cut down costs on drinking by heading to the local supermarket. And last but not least, we're at tip number 10. You found the pasta, you found the cheese, you found the chocolate, you found the wine. Now it's time to cash out, to check out, and you can go to a cash register, or you can do what I do and use the self-checkout. Now, if you take your groceries to the cashier, your experience is probably going to be pretty similar to your home country. They'll probably ask you in Italian if you have a loyalty card, if you need a bag. They're unlikely to bag your groceries, though, so you'll need to keep the line moving by putting your own groceries in your own bag as they're scanning. You can pay with credit cards or cash, but the cashier probably won't be very happy about getting a large bill, and they honestly might not be able to break it. Which brings me to the self-checkout. In my opinion, self-checkouts in Italian supermarkets are one of the best places to make change for large bills. So I always try to go to them after I visit an ATM, or as they call it in Italian, a bancomat. And if I've got like a 50 euro bill or a 100 euro bill that I need to break. If you're lucky, the self-checkout machine will have a flag icon on the screen that lets you change the language over to English. But even if it doesn't, like the process is very similar to what you would find at a self-checkout anywhere else in the world. Just scan each product, make sure it shows up on the screen, and then move it to the opposite side to the bagging area. If you want to pay with cash, just slide your bill into the narrow slot and drop any coins into like the curved hole. Your change will come out below, and the receipt will come out near the card reader. You'll want to hang on to that receipt because at some supermarkets, you need to scan it to open the exit gate as you leave. So that's it. Those are my top 10 tips for grocery shopping in Italy. While I was recording that, I cooked and ate a big bowl of tortellini that reminded me so much of being in Bologna. Pop over to the blog to read about my time in Bologna, some of my recommendations for that city and for other Italian cities, and I will be back with more travel information, travel guides, travel stories for you very soon. Grazie e arrivederci.